powerful production, the story of Parihaka, set to music, and co-director, in fact, the person behind the music of this production, Steve Worsley, joins me in the studio. Kia ora, thank you for your time.
Kia ora, nice to be here. Thanks, Andrew.
That is such a powerful piece of music, and we'll get to the setting of that in just a moment. But I suppose to have this idea in your head, yes, let's tell the story of Parihaka, but seeing that come to life, hearing the songs that you've written being sung, must be a pretty powerful time for you at the moment.
Oh, it's just incredible. You know, you dream them up in your bedroom and you write them out on your computer program and whatever. But to hear the voices come together, to hear those beautiful harmonies, and we've got such a talented cast, and and all the drama and stuff that you get in a stage musical, it's all there, and we're just dying to get into the Bruce Mason Centre next week.
This is a tough story to tell. It is perhaps one of the most tragic stories of New Zealand history, particularly involving Christians on the wrong side of that history. What was it that drew you to tell this one? I mean, it is a tough one even to watch, Steve.
Well, first of all, I'd say there's Christians on both sides of the story. Yeah. So the Parihaka tribe were a Christian tribe, and they really inspire me. And as I think about, who are the inspirational Christians in New Zealand's past, I think of that tribe, and I think of their leaders, Te Whiti and Tohu, and the way that when Te Whiti spoke, just about every time he gave a speech of any kind, he would quote the Bible. Yeah. The Māori ploughmen, when they went out to do their ploughing and fencing work, that's such a big part of the story. Singing the Psalms, it was so much a part of who they were. And so I find that really inspiring, and that they really stood on what they believed the Word of God was saying, and to love their enemies. And I just find, I think that's a great story worth telling. Now, at the same time, yes, some of the Pākehā clergy who had such a great job had been done in passing on the gospel to Māori, but then when it came to actually standing with Māori, when land was being taken off them, well, where were the Pākehā clergy there? And so that's pretty tough, actually. It's looking back, that's pretty tough. But I believe in telling the story as best we can in all its truth, and there's truth on both sides of that.
Exactly. Now, I mean, you're coming from a Pākehā perspective. Some people would struggle with that. Would they say, well, is this for Pākehā to tell this story, or is this more for Māori to tell? But, I mean, the way in which the productions come together is very much a story of bicultural partnership working together.
It is, and that's why we would have had Sarah Tahiri with me today. We co-direct, and so half of the cast is Māori, half of the cast is Pākehā. We tell this that there are two communities in the cast, so we give a bit of a feel for what it might have been like to be part of the Pākehā community during that time, and what it might have been like to be part of the Parihaka community of the time. And so we try to tell both the stories, and the Pākehā characters are not all bad characters too. That's quite important, and so some of them were actually good and stood with Māori. So we try to embrace all of that in our telling.
Being true to the actual story, though, some of them were terrible people, and even those that claim to be Christians. I mean, there's examples in the script and even in some of the songs of overt racist attitudes of some New Zealanders at the time. Again, this is the truth of the story, but difficult to put into a musical.
Yeah, there's a lot of soul-searching that happens in the cast and the production team along the way, because we are Māori and Pākehā. Yeah. And we have our stories, and some of us, through our growing up in our country, have experienced a bit of bullying and racism. And so when you have those sort of things going on in you, it's quite a deep kind of emotional experience to put this together and to engage with, like you say, the racism that is there in the story. But it also shines a real light on God's grace, and it helps us think, well, how do we respond to bullying, to racism, to things that are just so incredibly wrong that should never happen? There's wonderful examples in the story.
And tragically, I mean, still part of our society today. And I think this is one of the things I love about it. It is a story set in our history, but it is a story for our times as well. I know the production has been a challenge, not just from an ideological or theological point of view, but there's just been so many obstacles, it seems, coming up between you and the team putting this production together. I mean, global pandemic, who would have thought, right? But it seems like it's been one thing after another. Certainly God has taught you some things along the way about resilience and patience, and be careful what you pray for, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole story right from the start, it seemed impossible. It was an impossible dream, to make a musical. If I'm honest, I'd never even been in a musical myself, let alone write one, let alone direct one. And so, from the start, there were these huge obstacles. We had no money, we had no premises, we had no anything really. And it's this impossible dream. And then we performed it for the first time in 2020. Well, the dumbest of years to try and perform anything for the first time, an indoor event, and the pandemic going on. We got locked down twice. We finally got to do it when our third set of dates in 2020. This time round, we thought the pandemic might be the issue again, but instead it was the weather. Yeah. So we have lost 10 hours of rehearsals, including last Tuesday night, because of civil emergencies in Auckland.
No, it seems to be one thing after another. But, hey, coming to a bigger stage, now Bruce Mason Centre, a fantastic facility. It opens... Don't mean to panic you, but a week tonight. A week tonight,
well,
Steve.
Next Thursday. Next Thursday night.
So, that's coming up soon, ready or not. You're ready to go, do you think? Or you've got a whole week, right?
No, we're super excited. No, we're really looking forward to it. The getting into the place that the Bruce Mason is so well equipped with all of the facilities that you need, but also the lighting and the tech. Yep. So like any theatre company, you work with the tech you've got in your premises, but when you get to your actual theatre, then you've got all the possibilities and you can hear properly, see properly, and all the wonderful effects that you want to do. To get to be part of the product that you're then putting together.
Going from the original vision for this and taking it to this point, what has changed with you, Steve? How has God touched your life through being involved with this musical?
It's funny, I was a pastor previously in Lower Hutt, Petone Baptist, and I learnt a little and connected a little with Māori in the area, but not really very much, if I'm honest. And so when I said to my congregation that, guess what, we've put together this musical about the story of Parihaka, and I said to them honestly, you probably think of me as someone who didn't connect highly. This is the amazing thing, that God has used me to have to go and connect with Māori, to have to find out a whole lot, to have to engage and learn a whole lot of tikanga and to go to Parihaka several times to meet with leadership there, and it's changed the course of my life. And then now, in the cast, some of my best friends on planet Earth are Māori and have just had this incredible journey of the last 5 years together creating this show.
Sarah, your co-director, who couldn't be here because of Auckland traffic, now something which she said to me last time we were chatting, which stuck with me, in fact, her challenge to people is come and see this musical, it will change you forever. That is a big call. How do you think it will change people? What would you say to encourage people to go and see The Way of the Raukura?
Well, I think that it challenges you to think about the legacy that we have inherited here as New Zealanders. Yeah. So what was our past like? Now, I don't know you, Andrew, or others listening here, what you were told. When I grew up, I was led to believe by the adults around me that racism is an issue that other countries deal with, but we don't have any of it in New Zealand, or we haven't treated Māori badly. Yeah. And so in the first case, there's sort of what we believe is a realistic look at what actually happened in the past. A lot of what we use is quoted straight out of history books. Yeah. And so there's that in the start. But also, I just think that there's this profound move of God in the middle of the story. Where the Parihaka tribe, we're so used to responding to curse with blessing. Yeah. It was just their lifestyle. It's what they did all the time, and it's just so moving. And you can imagine if these things were said and done to you, if 1,600 soldiers were marching to your place and they wanted to blow you off the planet, how would you feel? And it just extraordinary how they responded. And I think that is really moving when you see that and you feel that in a context where it's shown through music and drama.
Facing some of the one of the darkest seasons within New Zealand's history, and then asking the question, God, what do you want me to do with that? Certainly encourage people to get tickets. It opens at the Bruce Mason Centre on the 18th of May.
That's right.
Very shortly. And people can get tickets either, if they Google The Way of the Raukura or just through Ticketmaster, they can get tickets that way.
That's right, yes. Yeah, if you Google search Parihaka musical tickets, take you straight there.
Steve, fantastic production. Certainly looking forward to seeing it on the big stage. Thanks for joining us.